This is the Tea Factory podcast. There is so much going on. There is so much going on, and I still have to upload that video for Potomac. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I just wanted to quickly get on here and talk about this subject because there's just so much going on right now. But this particular subject, with Mia being arrested at the airport in Atlanta, and then Porsha had that incident the other day. So it's like, oh my goodness, like what is going on with these women, especially these housewives? So before we get started, we're just gonna do quick housekeeping. Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. There's allowance for fair use of copyrighted material for such purposes as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research as examples of activities that may qualify as fair use. All commentary is alleged in my own opinion. So first we're going to start with the Nene. So, on the thumbnail we have Nene, we have Mia, and we have Porsha. So, Carlos King, he does his Monday show on YouTube because he's a blogger. Okay, he spends more time blogging and being on YouTube and talking about Bravo shows than he does, it seems like, on his own shows. And his two shows that he has right now, Love and Marriage, Huntsville, and Bell Collective, they're both boring as hell. But I feel like he needs to be focusing on to better those shows and make them a better shows and concentrate on that. But he spends most of his time on YouTube being a YouTube blogger, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying you can wear many hats, and I'm not a Carlos hater. I do like Carlos, I do, but as a producer, some of the shady stuff that he's done to like Winter, Mel, and Monique and stuff like that, I do look at him with a side eye, but as a blogger, I do frequent his reality with the King channel and stuff like that, as many people do. So it's a love-hate relationship, okay? But anyway, so I was over there at his on Monday, and they were talking about BravoCon, and he was, Claudia was going in on Nene, and like she always does. Like Claudia's always hating on Porsha and Nene. Like at any time the subject, if the story, if the conversation goes towards Porsha or Nene, she always has something to say. She's always hating on them, and I'd be in the comments windmailing. But anyway, so she was saying that they were talking about BravoCon, and and Carlos was saying that how he missed not seeing Nene and Kenya at BravoCon. Nene and Kenya should have been at BravoCon, so he was just talking about how he felt, expressing his opinion. And I agree with him. I felt like Kenya should have been there. Kenya is an icon. Nene is an icon. Nene should have been there too. But then, Claudia was talking about Nene's attitude, how she's rude and doesn't have good work ethics, and then the beef that she had with Andy. So, of course, she's not going to be invited, blah, blah, blah. So she was just talking very negatively. Even though there have been some stories about Nene being rude. I mean, I live here in Atlanta, and I've had coworkers and friends who have like ran into Nene at like AT&T store or the restaurant Houston's, and they said she is rude. Some people have said that she is rude, but oh yeah, and then she used to have her lounge in Duluth. She closed the lounge, but I never got a chance to go to her lounge. Dang, I don't know why. I was procrastinating. I kept saying I'm gonna go, and never went. But anyway, from what I heard, it was a beautiful lounge, and some business. I went to this business that was closed, that was next door to her business, right after her business closed. And I remember asking them like, what happened? Like, why didn't Nene close her lounge? there was a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons they said was um, allegedly, you know, as far as like paying the employees allegedly, and then they said she was charging people to park in the parking lot. Like the parking lot is in a strip mall, so it's like it's free parking. Like if you're going to, there was like a farmer's market next to it, right? So if you're shopping at the farmer's market, you're gonna park for free. It was a strip mall, like the whole entire thing was free. But at night, when she opened her lounge as a club, quote unquote club, they were charging like $20 for people to park. That's crazy. But that's an Atlanta thing though. Like a lot of these restaurants and lounges in Atlanta, they do charge you to park, which is crazy. And Candy used to do it at Old Lady Gain. I remember when I went there, and I was like, no, I am not paying to park. I parked on the street. But yeah, so a lot of them do. So anyway, so they said allegedly there was a lot of issues, so that's why she ended up closing her restaurant slash lounge slash club. Um, so anyway, so what's his name? Carlos was saying, basically was just saying how much he missed her and Kenya. So next thing you know, he had Nene, he had Nene on his he said Patreon, but it was also on his YouTube. So he brought her to YouTube. He was interviewing her. It was like a very brief interview. So in that interview, Carlos was telling Nene that he was giving her flowers, and he was just, telling her how she's, pretty much built that Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is true. And then, just it was just like two girlfriends having a conversation, even though Carlos is, you know. So, so in that conversation, he asked Nene if there was any, if they were ever going to do a special of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, only, which cast members, what would be her dream cast. And she said that it would be her, of course, and then Kim, and then Kenya, and then Phaedra, and then she said Porsha. She said Porsha the same time I was typing in Porsha. I don't think it was live; it was pre-recorded, but still. And then she said Sheree, and then Candy and Claudia, and then she was like, of course she wants Claudia to come. She said because she wants to punch Claudia in her mouth for talking smack about her. So that means she watched that Monday show. And Claudia does talk crap about Nene. She does. She talks crap about Nene and Porsha. And so she said she would want Claudia to be there so she can punch her in her mouth. And she was like, "Yeah, I know." She said, "She's like, I know she wants it," and I know she was playing. She was playing. It was all joke, but still, but that she just letting Claudia know, like, "Girl, I know that you be on the show with Carlos and Dustin talking crap about me every chance that she gets to talk about Nene. She does so in a very negative way." So that was nice to see Nene on YouTube. I don't know what happened to her YouTube channel or show, because she used to have, I don't know if she's still there, but she had her Nene show, and it was on YouTube, and she was interviewing different people. But I have not seen that come on my suggestion. It used to be on my suggestions like every day on my YouTube suggestions, and I used to go in there on her channel and watch, but it hasn't came. Maybe it's just YouTube not recommending it to me anymore, but I'm gonna have to check it out later on. Um, so that was Nene, and it was nice that Carlos had brought her on and gave her flowers, and I thought that was really sweet of him to do that. So then, also she was telling she was telling Carlos that she loves Andy, and that she's, is pretty much like now willing to come back to Bravo. She doesn't have any problems. There's really no beef on her side. She's pretty much telling us that the ball is in Bravo's court. So it sounds like she's ready to come back. She wants to come back, but it sounds like Bravo has not asked her to come back. And I don't know if Bravo is willing to put up with her and her shenanigans. And Andy did say at BravoCon that him and Nene are texting now, which is good. That's a good sign. That's a first step. It might be a baby step, but that's for those of us who are fans of Nene, who want to see Nene on TV, that's actually good news. I am a fan of Nene, so hopefully one day she will be able to come back to the show. So yeah, so she pretty much was just saying, it's up to Bravo and Andy, and hopefully one day they will make amends. And she said the beef was big; it was bigger than both of their houses. It was. I mean, she sued the network, so of course there's gonna be an animosity and there's gonna be some resentment. So it's gonna take a while for the network to heal from that, to put their pride to the side, and see if they want to risk working with her again. And hopefully, for those of us who are fans, they will do that. And if Nene comes back, to be honest, like the ratings will go through the roof. Like ROA ratings will go through the roof if she does come back, and I hope they do um, make amends and she's able to return. So that was that on Nene. And drop down in the comments and let me know what you thought about that Carlos and Nene interview. Or it was more, it wasn't even really an interview. It was like a conversation. It was just like a quick little call, little conversation. It was like, hey girl, hey type combo. But so if you've seen it, just let me know your thoughts. Okay, next story. So the next story is going to be Mia Thornton. Mia Thornton was arrested in Atlanta. So I'm just gonna read this. This is according to CBS. So I'm gonna read this because I don't want to misquote or say anything crazy. Okay. So it says Mia Thornton, the 40-year-old, was booked into Fulton County Jail on Wednesday on felony theft charges, according to CBS News. Airport police were called to the Customs and Border Protection Office. Okay, so Customs and Border Protection Office. So it's like, okay, when you think about that, it's like, what does that mean? Does that mean that she was planning on leaving the country because it's Customs and Border? I mean, if you're flying from like Atlanta to Charlotte or Atlanta to DC, they don't take you to the Customs and Border. So I don't know. That right there raised a red flag for me in my head because that made me think like she's planning on leaving the country. But anyway, so they were called and they were alerted about a wanted individual, which was her from Bravo. And then it said the charges, Mia Nicole Fields Thornton was accused of stealing thousands of dollars worth of furniture from a condo that she had been renting. The building manager claims she moved out of the unit in the middle of the night on October 28 without notice, and she took multiple furniture items and a television, all valued about $11,000. Um, citing reports CBS citing police records. But for us, for the sake of YouTube, we're just gonna say allegedly. Even though it's all over the news and plastered everywhere, but we're just gonna say allegedly. So they're saying she stole multiple furniture items and television that was valued at $11,000. Mia was on the Real Housewives Potomac, and she left that show in April. She announced that she was leaving the show and that she was moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and she has been living in Atlanta since April, since she made that announcement, I guess. Yeah. So that's the news. The news is that she was caught at the airport. The airport police was alerted and they arrested her. And I don't know if she's still in jail right now or if she has bailed out. This is the ongoing story, so we're gonna have to, come back with updates. And the crazy part about it is, remember how Carlos King always calls her Mia be lying, Mia be lying, and I guess he was right. He ain't lying about her lying, And the thing is, like, okay, remember when her and Gordon, they were living in that condo, and then when his siblings took the money from him, or they demoted him, or fired him, or whatever it was, because he had a family business, chiropractor businesses. They owned a few locations, And so they had pretty much like fired him. And I think it was because of Mia. And she, her and Gordon was probably stealing some money from the family. Who knows? Allegedly, in my opinion, and allegedly. And so then remember, then they next season, after like whatever season it was when they came back, they were living in this big old house in Potomac, and it was really nice, had beautiful furniture. And then after that, they downsized again. So I'm saying all that to say that Mia has just been, what they say, shaking and jiving and scheming and plotting and scheming and just doing the most. Okay, and this is sad news, And the crazy part about it is that she had made a video when Wendy and Eddie were arrested for their insurance fraud, allegedly insurance fraud situation, and Mia made a video like pretty much talking crap about Wendy and mocking them and laughing. And she was saying, what about the children? Just talking match crap. And now look at her. It's like Karma has spent the block. Karma has spent the block on Mia. Now Mia is, facing jail time or is in jail right now as we speak. And the question now comes back to her, what about your children? And it's crazy because you have to like be careful. You know what they say, what you put out is what's gonna come back to you. Karma always spins the block, whether it does it in an hour, whether it does it in hours, whether it does it in days, months, years, or whatever, but it always comes back to what you put out. And for her to, have all those negative things to say, and then now pretty much like, and the thing is that she was saying negative things about Wendy and Eddie while she was doing dirt herself, because obviously she didn't probably just like wake up one morning, whatever the day was. They said that October 28th. She didn't wake up October 28th and just decided to just start plotting and scheming and be a scammer. So she's probably been scamming before. I'm sure allegedly, I'm sure she probably has, from the way this is panning out. Because some people just be faking it. And for her to talk the way she did on that video about Wendy and Eddie and kind of like be delighted and delightful, ooh, it didn't age well. It did not age well at all. And now she's pretty much in the same predicament, or even probably worse. Who knows? So hey, I mean, you just have to be careful what you put out there. So, Mia and Gordon, they were married, and it says that they were married for 11 years and they have two children together. They separated on June 2023. And then when they were separated, they were like going back and forth in their relationship. But then I don't know exactly when it was. I think it was sometime in August of 2025. She started messing with Bobby Valentino. But before she messed with Bobby Valentino, she was with Ink, because she had left Gordon for Ink, or and and I don't know what happened to that relationship. Like, you don't, that just kind of like diminished, like it just disappeared. Like that relationship is non and void almost. Yeah, so that's crazy. So, like the human side of me, you know, wants to say, okay, y'all just keep me in your thoughts and prayers. But then it's like, on the flip side, it's like she did this to herself. She was delighting in other people's downfall. And it's like, you almost want to say, well, this is what you get. Karma's so it's like, there's always two sides to everything. But I'm going to take you know, the high road. And I'm going to say, keep her in her thoughts. We're going to keep her in our thoughts and prayers, because you don't want to see nobody taken away from their children, or now her children are going to be without their mom, and nobody wants to be in jail. And we all make mistakes. We are all humans. So, I do hope that so yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm sending, my thoughts and prayers to her. Next story we have Porsha Williams. Porsha Williams is my girl. So Porsha was leaving um, Las Vegas, Nevada, coming back home to Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta. She was coming back to Atlanta, Georgia. So on her way back, she was flying on Delta Airlines, and it says when she was on Sunday, November 16th, the Real Housewives of Atlanta star, 44-year-old, was seen. Dang, Portia's 44? Oh wow, I thought no way. Portia's not 44. No, Portia's not 44. Is she really? Okay, that's what it says here. Um, was seen exiting a Delta Airlines flight in Las Vegas airport, accompanied by law enforcement. Okay, TMZ reported that the Federal Bureau FBI in Atlanta was investigating the incident, and then her lawyer Joe Hibachi tells People magazine that Williams exited the aircraft after she was verbally assaulted by an irate, unhinged passenger without any provocation. The passenger then proceeded to make false allegations that were in direct conflict with observations from several eyewitnesses. Hibachi says, as with any incident occurring aboard an aircraft, federal authorities are required to conduct an investigation involving all parties to determine what, if any, offense occurred. Um, and then her lawyer goes on to say that she has every intention of cooperating with law enforcement to whatever extent necessary and remains confident that the passenger will be charged. Okay, so that's crazy. So, in my opinion, I think what probably happened is, okay, from the video, it does not look like Porsha was like in any kind of authority or police type trouble, because when she came off the ramp thing, you see her and her assistant walking. She's looking fabulous. She has her fur coat on and her Uggs. And then the police officer was walking in front of her. Yes, so he probably was, escorting her off. She's a celebrity, and then also to make sure that there's no drama between her and the person. And then she's walking. It's not like she was in handcuffs or whatever. So he was just like, was walking in front of them, and it didn't look anything crazy. And then, she's talking to people telling her hi or they love her, whatever, and she said, love you back. And then on Andy's show, I believe it's on Andy's podcast, a caller called in and said that her mom's friend was on that flight. And apparently, an old white woman was going off on Porsha. What probably happened is maybe Porsha, when she's putting her luggage up, or she was sitting down or moving or whatever, because those places are really tight. So she might have accidentally bumped into somebody or did something, and then that old lady said something crazy to Porsha, and Porsha probably said something, and that probably was it. But that person, apparently, the callers called her Karen, and she was probably an old racist white Southern woman. Because if they're flying from Vegas to come back to Atlanta, so that old white lady probably lives in Atlanta, or she lives somewhere in Georgia, in these small little racist Georgia towns. Because don't forget, Georgia is still in the South. Georgia is predominantly Republican. It's in the South, it's Republican, and there's a bunch of country racist white people in Georgia. So a lot of people, forget that Atlanta is in Georgia. Atlanta and Georgia is not the same thing. Atlanta is Atlanta, and the rest of Georgia is still a bunch of rednecks. So, so it probably was just a hating old ass lady. And I hate to be so, you know, harsh, but that's probably the reality of it. and the caller did say that the witness told her mom that that lady. I mean, white people called her a Karen, so if they're calling her a Karen, so that means we could call her a Karen, okay? Allegedly, that's what allegedly that's what was said, that she was a Karen. So, with that being said, I don't see this growing any leg. Doesn't sound like it. And then her attorney, I kind of Googled him. He's an attorney out of Atlanta, and he looks like he's friends or he's part of her other lawyer, her divorce lawyer, Randy. Randy, her lawyer. And Randy's like everybody's divorce lawyer. He was Nene's lawyer, and he's Porsha's lawyer when she first divorced Cordell, and then he was Porsha's lawyer when she divorced Simon. So this attorney, it's either he's friends with him or whatever, but they're associated because I seen pictures of them together. So anyway, I'm trying to say that it's it's all like together. So her attorneys, they all you got one divorce attorney and you got this Joe guy Hibachi, Mr. Hibachi, he's a criminal attorney. So not saying she did anything criminal, but the situation. So anyway, we're gonna keep an eye on this story, but I really don't think it's gonna grow legs. Portia's story is different than Mia, cause like Mia's like they're accusing her of stealing furniture and TV. Porsha was like, okay, everybody, eyewitnesses and everybody saying somebody was yelling and screaming, probably just being racist towards Porsha because she probably was fabulous, and just being a hater. But Mia, so I don't know what's going on with these housewives. We have Mia now that was arrested. We have Karen for DUI. We have Wendy, insurance fraud. We have Porsha at the airport. Like, am I missing anybody? Let me know, because this is crazy. It's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing, but it's just crazy. You know. But anyway, y'all, that's it. That's all. Get on the chat. In the chat, let me know your opinion, and I am going to. I need to hurry up and upload the Potomac. I keep saying I'm gonna do it, but hopefully I'll get it done tomorrow. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, like the video, comment. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.